So, welcome back to the Click Wars podcast. Jamie, how's it going, brother? You well?
Very good, very good. We had obviously someone that I know very well from the Lasso days. Andrew, one of the biggest affiliates off SEO that there has been, made more money than most people, but just more humble with it and less flashy, like we all do when we start making money on Twitter. One of the biggest, huge, very few people can say that they've done like 5-6 figure days and months, and so. One of the biggest people who's run big teams and managed to scale that, as well as bring his development knowledge to be able to scale programmatically and use data in affiliate. So it's also interesting to talk to him how he pivoted to SaaS from affiliate and how you can go from what is more of a two-dimensional content site to a three-dimensional business, which is especially relevant now in the helpful content update, which people call the real business update, in that like it's targeted content sites rather than real businesses that are really doing stuff and selling products. And so it's an interesting one on how you go from 2 to 3 dimensions, how you go from affiliate to SaaS, how you scale a SaaS, how you scale affiliate. And yeah, Andrew's a super interesting guy.
I love chatting to him about Listen Money Matters as well and the personal finance aspect of it. We spoke about a few elements of that. And for me, Listen Money Matters as a personal finance guy was the biggest podcast and one of the biggest affiliate sites in the space. So getting geeky with finance with Andrew was pretty good fun too. But yeah, let's get onto it on the Click Wars podcast. Ever felt like your blog could do with a bit of an SEO boost? Well, I found your answer. Link Whisper.
Imagine effortlessly adding internal links to your posts, boosting your SEO without breaking a sweat. That's the Link Whisper speciality.
Absolutely. With Link Whisper right under your article, you get tailor-made suggestions for your internal links, and the cherry on top, connect it with Google Search Console and you're off to the races.
Yep, it uses those keywords directly from Google Search Console for that perfect anchor text.
And if you're posting something new, Link Whisper is like your SEO sidekick. It scans your site, finds relevant content, and suggests where and how to link back to your latest post.
So for your orphan posts, Link Whisper's pretty handy.
Yeah, gone are the days of crawling through your site with complex tools and spreadsheets. Link Whisper finds these orphan pages and allows you to add links from your WordPress dashboard.
And let's not forget the related post widget. So this can be displayed as a bulleted list or within a blog post thumbnail. You get a specific set of articles to be related, or you can have them auto-select them for you.
And for those orphan posts we mentioned, they're getting prioritized, ensuring every post gets the love it deserves.
So to all you bloggers looking to step up your game,
use the code ClickWars, all one word, for $20 off. And now back to the podcast.
Welcome to another episode of Click Wars. We've got the most biased episode of the most recent series, and trust me, we're really going to sell you and flog you the gear on this one. We've got Andrew from Lasso. Obviously, you know that they've been sponsoring the podcast. Obviously, you know about my close history with Lasso and how I spend most of my week promoting and growing. So we're going to go into a lot of things, not necessarily on that side, but just on the data affiliate, growing huge brands over the last decade. And honestly, this one's a bit of a treat because in terms of like storied histories with affiliate marketing, SEO, brand building podcasts, there's really few people who have done it better. And so welcome, Andrew. Gun to head, 20 seconds to tell your life story. Go for it.
I thought you were going to pump me up before we start. So my storied history, once upon a time, I was a data engineer. I worked for investment banks, dreamed of a more interesting life, became an accidental podcast host, blogger, which was not what my engineering degree said I should do. Earned quite a bit more running my personal finance site, learned SEO, built a gift site with my wife. We found this like awesome opportunity. And because I'm a developer, all problems look like code problems. So I just like automated stuff. And then my friends wanted to talk to me more about my automations and the cool brands I built. So I started selling that. And that's Lasso.
That is nice. Like serious repertoire. I don't like, where do you even start with that, man? Like, geez.
Commenting on blog posts, day one, Listen Money Matters, because those are links back then.
Yeah, oh God. I suppose obviously Listen Money Matters is a good place to start, but I'm going to start at the end because
Sure.
Why did you actually stop with it when it was so successful? And what was the reasoning there?
I could tell you like the good answer. I'll give you the real answer. One, I was a bit tired of talking about personal finance after like 5 or so years. It felt just like really repetitive. And so I was just going to do the blog. And it turned out that the podcast was really the underpinning of everything. You know, everyone's talking about EAT and stuff then, and that was when we had EAT with one E. And I think just the Listen Money Matters branded traffic, which was like, I don't know, 2,000 something volume a month, like that really kind of underpinned a lot. And then as it started to tank, like it was doing really well. And then when it's 20% less, you love it 50% less. And when it's doing 40% less, you like don't love it anymore. And so even though it was earning, I kind of fell out of love with it.
That's, I mean, like for me, it was like the brand that when I started out with Up the Gains, I'd be looking at Listen Money Matters and thinking, oh, cool. Like, and this is how I need to like, and for me, it's the benchmark in personal finance content, like the way that you've laid it out and the way that you brought personality to it. Like in the UK, we don't have that. Like there's no one really bringing personality like you and, you know, Matt, and obviously the co-host that you guys had like over the years on that brand in the UK. So for me, it's a real sort of benchmark. And, you know, that's why I wanted to ask you about the podcast as well, because we're hearing so much about this kind of brand conversation, build a brand, and that obviously requires building in diverse channels and spaces. Like, you did mention it there without me sort of taking into this question, but like the podcast obviously underpinned the brand and you didn't realize that, but was that a conscious decision at the beginning?
No, it was only supposed to be a blog. I never wanted to do like this or audio or anything. I wound up talking to my friend. So Matt, I met Matt because he was one of the first commenters on the blog. And I was like, oh my God, someone's reading my stuff. And I would like write him essays and we would jump on Skype because that was all there was back then. And I would just like berate him about money because I was like, dude, like you're just, what the fuck? And then my wife was like, you should record this. And that was kind of it. I mean, it was a lot of work. But what I learned with the show is that when you publish a podcast, you have this feed that people subscribe to. And then what happens is you inadvertently get all these subscribers to this feed. And then just all these automatic links, and that's like pod notes or, you know, all of these podcast platforms. And so we didn't buy any links. We didn't even consciously do a roadshow of, you know, promoting it. We kind of like by having a show just built this massive underpinning of links. We would create an episode. So for example, we'd you know, whatever we were talking about, and then we'd pay someone to do like 200-300 words of show notes. And like I remember a show notes ranking for Betterment versus Wealthfront, or Betterment versus Acorns. I mean, it was like a really high buying, high intent term. It was 200 to 300 words. And like I maybe mentioned, I didn't even mention, someone who wrote this mentioned Betterment like once. It wasn't even about that. And we're like, oh my God, because it had so many links from just being an episode. We then rewrote it to be like the Acorns versus Betterment or whatever it was. And that's how we kind of figured out SEO. And so the website was the business. That's where we earned the money, but the podcast kind of like fed it.
That's crazy. Like for me, podcast is so underrated because it's exactly what you just said there. Like you are literally listed now. It's even more like you sign up to Buzzsprout and you're literally listed on about like 30 different directories. And most of these guys like iHeart, like do follow link 92 for every single show episode that you put up is then fed back into your website, and God knows where else that goes. It goes miles. And so it is just like a little magnet. And once people do start listening to it, it can just grow. And then you get that branded traffic. You start getting that Listen Money Matters branded traffic, which I imagine comes from people just like listening to you, which is then feeding into Google and becomes this all serving ecosystem of Listen Money Matters traffic. Like I find that so fascinating, and I think that's what I'm trying to do myself now, and integrating YouTube and doing it, you know, as a brand and building it slowly but surely instead of focusing on that one channel. I think because we've got so much risk with Google these days. So if you went back to it, like and actually started it again, what would you do if you was like day one personal finance brand for the guys out there that are, you know, interested in doing something like that?
If I was to do it again, I don't know that I would do it a whole lot differently, because you just like don't know anything when you start, and you're reading things and you're listening to things, and everyone's wrong, you know, or like like I could tell you all the stories of what worked a decade ago, but you can't write a 200-word blog post and have it rank in the top 10. You just can't. It's the world's different. Um, the special thing, you know, everyone like talks about like tactics and stuff, but the really special thing is with a podcast, it's so intimate. You're in their ears, you're in their head. They're working out, they're walking to work, you know, they're listening to you. They're having sex, they're listening to you, you know, and that's really special. And then what happens is you get links or references or whatever because people heard the words that you said, and then you meet people because of that, you know. Uh, I was talking to Spencer Hawes at FinCon, and he knew of me because of the show and whatever, which is like cool because I don't really think that I'm anybody. Um, but if I was to do it again, when I got tired of the show, I felt like I'd be doing the internet a disservice if I put someone else in my seat. You know, I'd just be like copping out. Where he put Jared in there, and Jared, he even told me, arguably he's doing better than he ever did. You know, and I figured I had to retire it. And so I think I was never a cult of personality person, but when it gets to be a certain size, maybe you get blind to some things. So I would have kept it going.
Okay, that's really interesting. And then I suppose really kind of last question on Listen Money Matters for me is like, what would it take? Because I looked at Ahrefs before this. You're still getting traffic, and you're still getting traffic to some quite good affiliate terms. So, like, what's it going to take for you to jump back in and fall in love with it again?
I have wanted to for probably like the last 2 years. I would be everyone could just call me out as, you know, being a liar if I because I'm like really obsessive with focus, and I feel like you do too many things. It's trying to toast bread with a flashlight.
Right.
You just can't get enough energy on one thing. We see a lot of things at Lasso, very few breakout successes of large portfolios. It's generally people who own one, two massive sites. Because like as the magic is often the founder, at least initially, and you can't spread that so thin. So what would it take to get back? I've flirted with the idea of like some JV setup, maybe throwing some of my money in and building a team again. I was going to record the show again, but you kind of don't realize you assemble all of these things, the team, the recording process, whatever, and it takes you all this time, but it doesn't feel like that because it builds slowly. And when you send it all to the wind, it's really quite a mountain to climb to get it all back pumping again. And so it's been that, and Lasso deserves my focus right now. It's growing faster monthly than any of my other businesses have.
To put it in perspective, there's still some residual clout there. We were at FinCon, and this was like just when I just arrived, and I was super jet lagged, just got there. We're in the elevator to go and get a drink. And I think I asked this question. I was like, do you still feel like you got clout around here? And we were in the elevator with this random guy in the corner. And we were talking about like Listen Money Matters, and he goes, "Oh, you're the guy that did the rap song with Matt G." I was like, "Yeah." There's like the one person that was with us knew and like still had like the admiration from back in the day. So yeah,
it was a lot of fun meeting all of the people from, you know, I've been to a lot of FinCons, and like I feel like I knew all the people. I love the community. PT did an awesome job with FinCon.
Yeah, it was really good fun. When you are a gifted data, we say data, you say data, a data engineer,
Travesty.
and you're technical and you have access and a completely different vision to what content people have. How does that help when building a content site, and how do people not look at things that they should look at differently?
I think it's weird that you're implying I'm gifted, but I'll run with you on this. One of the things that I've kind of become obsessed with is like how superstitious everyone is when they build their sites. And if you ask someone like why they did this, like why is there a button in the middle of your post, they could say they either can't say anything, or they say this guy or this girl did it. And a lot of the sites look just like other sites, not because of some well-documented success in doing it this way, just because, I don't know, the guy who's number 8 did it that way and I like the way it looks. And so the way that I kind of wanted to do it was, I think I know, I think I have good taste, so I'll like throw a wide net in this direction, and then the data will show me that it's exactly this way, a straight path. And so with Gift Lab, when we built Gift Lab, we picked, gifts for dolphin lovers. We picked a lot of gifts that we thought dolphin lovers would like. We enjoy dolphins. We don't love them to that degree, but we thought we knew. And then over time, as people click, the number 8 item is the most popular one, so it moves to the top. The number 2, dolphin lovers don't like that. They don't like fish or whatever. So you take it off the list. And so like we built a strong initial thing, whether it was like our reviews on Listen Money Matters or the gift list. And then we let like the people and their actions really drive where it goes. And I think that's why we've been able to compete really well, where our stuff would just perform.
Ever felt like your blog could do with a bit of an SEO boost? Well, I found your answer. Link Whisper.
Imagine effortlessly adding internal links to your posts, boosting your SEO without breaking a sweat. That's the Link Whisper speciality.
Absolutely. With Link Whisper right under your article, you get tailor-made suggestions for your internal links, and the cherry on top, connect it with Google Search Console and you're off to the races.
Yep, it uses those keywords directly from Google Search Console for that perfect anchor text.
And if you're posting something new, Link Whisper is like your SEO sidekick. It scans your site, finds relevant content, and suggests where and how to link back to your latest post.
So for your orphan posts, Link Whisper's pretty handy.
Yeah, gone are the days of crawling through your site with complex tools and spreadsheets. Link Whisper finds these orphan pages and allows you to add links from your WordPress dashboard.
And let's not forget the related post widget. So this can be displayed as a bulleted list or within a blog post thumbnail. You get a specific set of articles to be related, or you can have them auto-select them for you.
And for those orphan posts we mentioned, they're getting prioritized, ensuring every post gets the love it deserves.
So to all you bloggers looking to step up your game,
use the code ClickWars, all one word, for $20 off. And now back to the podcast.
Yeah. I think that one of the most important, powerful things that I learned over the last year was when you said that your unique selling point with the gift list was taste. And taste is a nuanced, subjective thing that we all have. But it's also, you can discern taste from user metrics. And so a unique selling point is no one else is focusing on the data, but I can tell that if number 4 is clicked more than number 1, then it should be number 1. And I feel like so many people miss that out. And it's why it's such an integral thing to have your firm grip on the data. And that a lot of people, I think, could learn and take this away from this podcast, at least, is that you can really make a lot more money and serve people's needs much better when you do this stuff. And I think you caught onto that early. And obviously now that's being built into Lasso. And that was an important thing and a mind shift for me to learn a year ago when you first said that. And it's something that I think I want people to take away from this one because it's so important.
I'm glad you put light on that. We were looking at gift lists when we were identifying the opportunity, and it was like low difficulty Ahrefs and blah, blah, blah. And we would look at these gift lists, and my wife would be like, this is like, now I would buy none of these things. These are cheap garbage items. Like who built this list? Like they don't even care. And so we felt like it was such a low bar to step. But, when you're talking, I was reflecting back, like the thing that brought Matt and I together, and the thing that brought Thomas and Matt and I together was taste and this obsessive focus on quality. And the reason SwimU is so storied is like, obviously Matt was successful, but it's also excellent. It's just really, really well done. He's not going to tell you 50 ways to clear the cloudy water in your pool. He's going to tell you the one way that he believes matters. He's going to prescribe that. That's it. And with Listen Money Matters or with finance, there's 100 ways to do it. And we could talk until we're blue in the face, but the way that we believe you should do it is this way. And so if you like our approach, it makes it easier. And I think epic gardening, all these things, like you kind of just have to, if you have strong taste or a strong direction, I think that could be just a really great pull for a brand.
100%, man. Like something that I've been leaning back into a little bit. I think initially I was way more like, how do I please everyone? And actually that's not me as a person. So I'm kind of fighting against this. And then suddenly when you start showing your true colors, like I've seen it across our videos where I'm actually being a little bit more colorful and a little bit more opinionated. They're the ones that do better. They're the ones that people interact with. I've got more likes, more comments, more engagements, more shares. And that's just like because you're actually being a person. If you hang your hat, then people generally will follow you. And actually, you don't want everyone there.
Stand for something, right? You have some expertise, and there's like, we would be wrong about the details of like some tax law or whatever, but it didn't matter because the essence, they can't, stand for something, right?
When you're
go on, Jay.
When you're just to go back to the analytics part again, when you built the dashboards that I've seen that look excellent, and before they were built into Lasso for everyone else to get access to, what were you focusing on the most? Was it purely CTR, or like how did you decide what was a productive stat to use when improving affiliate content?
So there's like the Listen Money Matters piece, and there's like a lot of impact or share a sale, and you're more able to track that stuff. GiftLab was 98% Amazon, is probably still. And so you can't dial it into that level. And so what we did is we would look at a post and we look at the click-through rate. So how many people visited and how many clicks went to affiliate links. And so we would try and drop, like we had a median for the site, and we'd always try and lift every page above the median. And so that's one. And then what happens is we would have a blended EPC. So a click to Amazon is worth 10 cents. I think now it's worth like 14 cents on GiftLab. And then we would basically, multiply the clicks, and that'd be the value of the article. And so that's also how we would focus our time, because or what we learned, that the more specific the list, the higher the click-through rate. And if there was like a number in it, like 18-year-old, 13-year-old, whatever, it generated more money. And so we wound up focusing more, like less on gifts for dad and more on gifts for dads who love to golf, which is just more specific, or gifts for 50-year-olds because those just generated more revenue. And so while we didn't know specifically the conversions per article, there still things pulled out, like they like spoke to us once you have it all kind of like laid out in a list. Didn't know what we were looking for until we saw it, I guess.
And that governed your content optimizing, prioritizing to know, all right, we are making X amount, and this is worth 3 times more than another less specific article. Therefore, we can dedicate resources more appropriately to this, which is another thing that I think most affiliates miss out on. And armed with that data, you can just be so much more effective. And I think that, again, it's something that I want more affiliates to listen to and understand, because it's becoming more accessible to get hold of this data now. You don't have to be a data engineer anymore. And it's such a supercharging, like shot to the arm in terms of productivity and effectiveness for affiliate revenue.
When we were at FinCon, you had asked me to put in a slide that it said like traffic is a vanity metric. And it totally is, because when I was doing Listen Money Matters, I found this whole weird online space by Googling passive income. At the time, Pat Flynn ranked, went through the whole Pat Flynn route, and it became like a mission of mine to rank for passive income. It was a very competitive term. At the time, it was like 40 something difficulty. I think I had like 48,000 monthly volume. I was like, I could do this. Like then, like I've won, and we did it. And we ranked number 1 for a few months, and the traffic was absolute shit. I couldn't get anyone to buy anything. No one was signing up for an investment product looking for passive income. They were signing up for Survey Junkie. I was getting like $1 maybe every how many clicks. And it made me realize that like the volume that's not where it is. You have to go deep to where people actually want something specific.
So let's take that example, because that was actually my question, because I heard you talk about that, and that like lit this fire up my ass, because I was doing exactly this. I've got articles like, how to how to make £1,000 in a week, for example. The people that are going on that do nothing. They do nothing. And it's like, great,
But
cool.
everyone's trying to rank for it. So it pops up in
Yeah.
Ahrefs and you're like, I got to do this.
Well, it looks
Super
great,
simple.
doesn't it? And you see the value term in the title, and you're like, oh, cool, great, that's bang on the money. Like, you know, these guys will go on my best of investing apps list. No, they fucking won't. Like, they just don't. And they, no matter what you do, no matter how colorful I make those boxes or change them around and play with the order, they don't want to, because it's not the right type of person. They don't have the money, or they're not interested in it. So you've done that. You've ranked for passive income. How do you actually go deeper? Like, where is the nuggets that people can find? It doesn't have to be personal finance, but obviously we're on the topic here. So, like, what's the steps that you take to find that, like, dads who like golf?
I mean, there's like the answer that you don't want to hear, which is like, you know, imagine you were that person. The thing that I'm personally obsessed with is not working hard, which is ironic because I spend a lot of time working. But if I see people competing, I kind of want to like go the other way. Like, I don't want it to come to a foot race. I want to like have an advantage, keep an advantage. And I think as the volume numbers go up, there's just eyeballs, people doing it because they think they should do it. And so I think you should go in the other direction. And I think a friend of mine, Emil, who I talk with like every like couple times a month, runs an SEO agency and for SaaS companies. And for him, success is driving revenue. So he wants us to like convince them they even need organic traffic. They just want sales. And he finds all of his wins in these like single double digit terms that you wouldn't even, it may be like 0 to 10 on Ahrefs, but if you read it and you thought about it as a buyer, it's literally someone who wants to buy now. They just don't know exactly what they're looking for. And so he creates this thing. It's just like so obvious. It's like, if you want it, if it was like the term was WordPress plugin that improves click-through rate and drives affiliate sales, like 0 volume. But if you're searching that, like you're already a Lasso customer. You don't know it, you know, and not that you have to create a million no volume terms, but I could tell you that no one else is creating that. It's not showing up in anyone's Ahrefs dashboard or top pages. Top pages is kind of like an outdated approach. I think you need to look like bottom up, or look for only things with 6 words, you know?
It's so interesting because it's a real struggle for me at the moment trying to find these terms that like everyone else doesn't have. And you're right. Like I'm trying to figure out what a keyword research strategy looks like for me now, because as you say, like the old ways, like I don't need that page that they've got, because I know that I can, even with a DR28, I know I can come and outrank you because I can write better content than you, but the term isn't valuable. So like we've got to find this different way of creating this content. And you know, that's why affiliate for me and working with Jamie has been so like eye-opening for me, because before I was just like content, got to get content live, but now I'm like, where's the money?
I could tell you one of the approaches that I heard at FinCon. There's some guys that have these like massive sites, like they can rank, and they're not going for like the Chase Sapphire review type stuff anymore, because that's just like on the nose, like why even? But they're going for Joe's credit card review, and then they go and they shit on Joe's credit card, and they're like, but you know what doesn't suck? Chase Sapphire. And so they're going like all the way out into the woods. They're finding like these weird things you didn't know, and then they're pulling people in that way. And so, maybe it's obvious hearing it, and I would say like most of the stuff is obvious, but I think you have to like open face reject the front door and try and find the window,
Yeah, it's fun, and that's why we do what we do, right? Like, otherwise, like we're probably in the wrong game if that stuff doesn't really interest you.
I would agree.
So you mentioned being like very singularly focused, and I, being around and seeing that, I completely see that, and I respect the discipline to blot out the distractions. Like profitable websites being a distraction is quite a fun way of saying it, but for everyone listening, like I've published some income reports. I've done all right, 50, 60, 70 a month or whatever. The money that Andrew will never, like, I tell him, you got to build your clout on Twitter because you've made money that would make my money look like nothing. And so you've done that, and you've been in the position where you've made, multi 6 figures a month in good months, like just casually with that. How do you decide to focus on a project like Lasso and steer your time away and focus so singularly when you've had such success in other areas? And so it'd be difficult to emotionally, because you love these brands, bring yourself away, but also financially because you've been so successful to start a new project with unknowns.
So something that's colored kind of my path. The first company I worked for was called Lehman Brothers. You may have heard of it.
Yeah.
I loved the company. They gave me a chance when no one would. I felt like everyone was brilliant. I was the dumbest person in the room type deal. Tech wasn't an expense. It was I just loved all of it. And then went bankrupt. And what it was, from the inside, it was these people who were almost too smart to see this obvious thing, and we could avoid the whole discussion of that. And so it's like this company filled with brilliant people went bankrupt, and then they couldn't even see the forest for the trees. Like the problem was like literally right here, and they didn't see it. And so that was like my level 1 job experience. And so I'm always kind of waiting for something to tank. And I guess, my customers are publishers, and, we have a lot of people who've pulled away and done really well. It became clear to me that I couldn't compete on that level forever. I didn't have that in me. And so I used the cash flow of that to build Lasso. In the SERPs, you rank number 1, number 2, and you see the people nipping at your heels and copying your stuff. And I couldn't do that anymore. I needed, I didn't feel like I didn't have a competitive advantage. It felt like, and I think I did with the podcast, and I wasn't able to see that, maybe because I was being arrogant, or I didn't understand the value of what I had built. And so with Lasso, we have software, which is a moat, but we also have our blog that does well. And so I couldn't get a product together for Listen Money Matters. I tried acquiring something at some point. It didn't, Gift Lab didn't know. And so it just wound up being, I was getting older, and I couldn't compete with someone who was 22 that wouldn't sleep, so I had to abdicate.
Ironically, like with the massive changes towards like real products, brands, and branded search stuff, I actually think that it's finally caught up to what you were doing, and that if you were in the full-time mode now with the podcast, you'd be crushing all the affiliate keywords that back in the day you didn't want to compete anymore because it was getting competitive. So it's ironic how you're ahead of the game and now it's caught up, but like it's years and years of them not respecting the extra brand stuff that you were doing.
We had a podcast, and people are like, you have a what? What is that? Is that like a food?
Yeah, you were early, man. Yeah. You mentioned product there, though. Interestingly, like your dollar sprouts have gone out and created like rewards apps. Like, what would the products be that you would go into if you were like these days and looking to expand outside of, say, looking at a blog?
One of the things that we were working on, and we're using like the Plaid API, and there's kind of like tooling around, was paying down credit cards and kind of like avalanche versus snowfall, and like plotting it out. There was like a site called Ready for Zero that existed way back, and then they were bought and shut down, and there was like a lot of love for that I just had heard in the emails that we got. And so we were thinking that, and it was really like, and you see all of like the big people do it, and it's not because it's like trendy that you add products in, but what happens is like you hit a certain size, and then like 10,000 more people a month will not make enough money for it to really matter for the size of your business. And so you can't really chase that. And it's like, well, like the best way to make more is to make more from what you already have, which is why Matt added chemicals to his site, or Epic Gardening bought like a seed company. And so it's like we have this email list, we have these people. I can't grow the show at a rate that I need to keep, the business growing the way it was. So I have to tack something on, and courses is one. I just am not a course guy. We did it, we made some money with it. I'm a software guy. And so I think it's ironic that now it's more of like a trust signal, but I think maybe it's a trust signal because it's more indicative of a mature brand, right? Building a product is expensive and it takes a while. There's this thing, it's called the SaaS slow ramp of death. And it's like where you have to try and earn, like you have fixed expenses in the beginning and you have to build it out and earn more before you die of having no cash. So you either have to have like a pile of cash you want to burn, VC, hold your breath. And so, but a successful business can subsidize that,
It's really difficult though to think, because me and Jay look at this site in the UK called Coody, and they rank for like best everything. But she's got a budgeting app, and actually like the links aren't that great. The content on the site is like the blog content. They haven't really got much organic traffic into like informational content, but they rank for best everything. And it's like, how is this site there? But actually, when you look at it, it's probably the product or the app, because they've got those, Tech Radar, Tech Crunch, Crunchbase, all of those like indie hacker links that are like so hard to go and get unless you've got a product. And that's why I think that they're winning. But yeah, it's so interesting to see your thinking there.
I would say that you should more likely ignore your competitors. When we were building Listen My Matters over like literally a decade, the amount of times that this one site out of nowhere would skyrocket and eat all our terms and then be gone in a few months. And every time, like, we'd literally be like vomiting. Like, I'd be sick watching my business get ravaged by this newcomer that's creating garbage. Jamie knows the gift lab and whatever. And it's just like, but they come and they go. And I think like you can't build a skyscraper on a mud pit, and maybe you can get bigger faster than like a solid foundation, because solid foundation takes time. And I think you probably intrinsically know the right things and you should just focus on that. The pie is so big, everyone can eat. But if you're focusing on them, they're always going to be ahead because you're looking at their ass. They're not looking at yours,
100%.
And when you made the decision to pivot, and well, I think the story being that everyone was so interested in the displays that you'd built that there was demand there. It was clearly a winner. But how long does it take, whilst balancing successful businesses, to build the original product displays and then launch like Lasso? How long was the initial build?
Matt built the product displays. I enhanced and whatever after, and it's been years. We probably worked on it I worked on it for 6 months, maybe 8 months. I brought Matt in. He was hearing about it because we would be talking like multiple times a week. And then when he came in, we like ripped half of it out because I was anticipating the problems that we were going to have and things we need to build, and they didn't make sense. So Matt, like fresh perspective, he's like, that's dumb. Stop that. Like, we're going to simplify it. So it took us a few months to like literally undo months of work. We launched it. We got feedback 2 to 3 months. And then it just kind of took off, and it's not like it just took off and it was just like gifted to us. It was so easy. Like, we were working our asses off, like literally crying, like Matt flew out and, we were like whiteboarding, drawing like dicks on whiteboards and just like, it's obvious after the fact. But I think if I was to like do that journey again, you got to, and it's like such like cliche advice, you got to get it out and you got to get feedback, because you think but you only like roughly know. You have to go north, but you don't know the exact coordinates,
And what's the difference between growing and managing a SaaS versus a content site, and growing and managing a team on a SaaS versus a content site?
Growing and managing a team is the most fun part, I think. I enjoy that. I force everyone on the team to talk to me every week. um, the margins on content businesses are out of control, intoxicatingly good. But also, what Google giveth, Google taketh away. And so, with that great margin comes a great level of risk and volatility. SaaS builds out slower. The thing that I love about a business like Lasso is that we work so hard to win a customer, and they put their credit card into our system, and then we just have to not disappoint them and keep delivering. And now we have someone who pays us every month over and over. I get a betterment conversion on my affiliate site. That's once. Now, likely that person is not even worth anything to me anymore. I need another new unwashed body to come and whatever. I would rather build a small cult of true believers. I feel like it's way easier to find 1,000 people that will buy into what you're doing than 100,000 people that are new every single month. That's like, oh my God, that's like multiple football stadiums of people. That's crazy. 1,000 people, there's 12 orders of that in the town that I live in, you know? And this is a small town.
Yeah, 100%. Find your tribe and then run with it. It makes sense in every niche.
On that note, what's the most surprising reaction you've had from your tribe? Like a feature that you expected to be a massive hit, or the feature that you were like, oh, no one cares about this, and then it was just like everyone's in jamming up customer support. Like, yes, this is the best thing ever.
I spent like almost 3 years explaining to everyone why they don't need comparison tables and why we were not doing it and why it's stupid, to eventually do it and then explain to everyone why it's so important and why you need it.
Yeah, they're I use the comparison tables on my sites, and I found it really useful versus like I think I've spoken about this before, but just like managing quality standards across 50 tables across different places on sites without a scalable solution. Even me with like 3 main sites, it just, the quality control was crazy. And like when I was doing custom generate block stuff, we'd have these pros and cons, and like the original was for one niche, so say vacuums, and then we were on the walkie-talkie site. You'd sometimes the VA would forget to do something, and on the walkie-talkie you'd say like, "This is a great vacuum for your kitchen." And it was just like, it's such a mess when you try and like scale this stuff up. And so the tables and the ability to manage them so much more scalably is the before I was involved with Lasso, when I was just a customer, was a big thing to me.
When I was running Listen Money Matters, we would have, debt products, credit cards, savings, whatever, and there'd be interest rates. And every month I'd get emails from like all of them telling me the rate change in like 0.01. And it made me so mad that had to have someone on my team do this stupid thing. Like a big onus of building this is just to like not do this shit anymore.
Yeah. That was the worst thing for me. When I met Jay, I was building every affiliate block by page. Like I had a little process down where I like checklisted it, so I knew what I was doing, and so it wasn't like too painful. But then, exactly as you said, like Chip come out and changed their rates, and I've like listed them on all of the savings page, and it's like,
where is it even?
Yeah, that's the worst. Where is it? And I still find stuff now, and I'm like, oops, okay, probably should have updated that about a year ago.
I find the rates, but the affiliate manager can always find the rates.
Yeah, I don't know how they tell me how.
Yeah. I told you a week ago. No, you have 3 hours to fix this. Come on,
I know, man. Yeah, they do. And in finance, the UK as well, the regulators are on your ass if you are not doing something right. But they don't go to you; they go to them. And then they come down on you like a ton of bricks. Like eToro shut my account down probably 6 times so far this year. Like, and it's just because you miss like a percent when they've asked you to change it, but they don't tell you. It just goes on the dashboard in like your little notifications. Like, who the hell's looking there? It's like, wow, okay, but you have to stay on top of these things. It's one of them things.
They're hired to be the bad guys. look, back in the day, Betterment, they're in New York. They took Laura and I to Broadway plays. We've gone out to dinner with the CEO, whatever, like great relationship. Like knew them, I have friends that work there, and we've been shut off from them. It's just, but the people who work at Betterment, they don't know. And not that they don't care, they hire these people to be they need to be bad guys.
Yeah, they do. Compliance is your friend and your bad guy at the same time. They are there to protect you. Yeah, for sure. Like, one thing I wanted to ask you was about Lasso, and obviously, you've built a business and a SaaS product which can operate without Google, but with Google, clearly the TAM's shrinking. There's so much pressure. These updates are nuts at the moment. People are seeing their whole businesses fall overnight, just like we saw in Panda and then previous updates. Like, what are you feeling about that? Because obviously a lot of your traffic and then essentially affiliate sales comes from people generating Google traffic. So how are you feeling about that?
Of one, affiliate is beyond just blogs. There's YouTube, social media. We are moving in those directions. And I think for a while, the volume that dies is garbage volume. We've seen the jokes on Twitter, like how many legs does a turkey have? How many eyes does a horse have? Arguably, those should never have been created. I don't even know who searches these things. AI can definitely do it.
Why wouldn't you know that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, right? And do you even need to ask it? Just like Google turkey and then look at the picture and count it, like you have to read about it. And so, and then display ads, I think it's like January, February, third-party cookies are like really, really dying. And so I think a lot of the volume that disappears maybe didn't need to exist. And then you could look at like massive head terms like passive income, that maybe that's like 40,000 searches a month that disappear. That could be a whole site, but it was maybe garbage traffic, and maybe AI does eat that. And then what difference does it make? Because it wasn't valuable anyways. But the very specific stuff, AI is not going to know. And I know everyone's like, oh, experience, whatever, but we're looking to move to a software product called Snowflake. And I can, ask AI about it. But then when I want to learn about how someone migrated and the steps that they took and the pitfalls, AI just can't tell me that, because it's just very specific and it's to the experience of like a group of engineers. And so that stuff will always survive. And even if AI does crawl it and co-opt it, it'll like the smart people will just use AI for that and then move to the next challenging problem. And that challenging problem you will need to look to writing for. I don't think like writing will die. I think needless writing will die. Like if you're going to Koala, and if Koala can do it, it doesn't need to be created. It's already been created, And so like you're doing this like short term, like maybe you're making something, but I think if you're trying to build a business that in 10 years, could still pay you, support your family, I think you should avert your eyes. Don't look directly at the sun. Like that's money today, but that's not money in 10 years. And your efforts need to stack,
That's a very good point. If you were then super active on the affiliate site SEO game in 2024, what would you be focusing on that perhaps a lot of people aren't?
Something that is working for us with Lasso is programmatic SEO into a funnel. And so an example is like how to create a cooking blog, right? And we looked at the results, and even the best ones were garbage. And what you could do is like you could spend a ton of time creating one, like 20 hours creating one, masterfully templated out, and then how to create a cooking, a fitness, a sex, a this, a that, all the various types. And that is just one piece of a larger funnel that feeds in. And so that's like an easy kind of thing you can spin up. Ian Nuttall does like great writing on stuff like that. And then I would just obsessively create super detailed terms, kind of like we were talking about, like really long terms. Something we're learning with Lasso is running ads against terms to see that they work, or what doesn't. It really is not that expensive. And kind of just hiding in the crevasses, where honestly, that's probably what we should all have been creating in the beginning. But volume is so intoxicating, and I'm only as important as the thousands of visitors to my site. So maybe when everyone's going this way, you go that way, and you just go for value instead of volume.
It's worked well on the programmatic side for the different blog terms. I checked on Ahrefs just out of interest, and our 6th most popular term now is that we rank 3rd for the term sex blog. So I think that even if it all goes wrong, we can fall back on our.
Damn,
our
you got some
secret
serious
second
traffic
juice at
there.
Lasso.
If you
must be
create
worth a fucking fortune.
That's right. Yeah. Look, people need to create sex blogs, and we're happy to help.
Oh fuck yeah! No, you're in now.
The point being, though, with the right artful use of AI to create stuff that people want to scale, it can be an effective tool. But if you're one-clicking koala with no strategy and no process and no refinement, you're right. You're only creating stuff that's been taught to an LLM that anyone else has access to. A unique selling point and a moat that's less replicable is the time to create a template, the time to understand the different elements of what would go in a how to start an X niche blog, and the artfulness to put that together in a way that's helpful and that Google likes. And I think that when people have a blanket policy on AI, they forget that there's a lot of nuance there and useful applications within that.
To build on that, one of the things that I found fascinating talking to these operators at FinCon is that back when I was doing this, it was like, how many articles can you create? What's your velocity? Can we get to 10,000 articles? And everyone now is thinking of like, what is the max that they're willing to maintain? And I think when you're creating things, you should maybe think if you want to live with this thing for like the rest of your life. And it's either like hell yes or fuck no. And so if you can maintain 500 pieces of content in perpetuity, does this fit into that? Does it fit into your long-term strategy? And if no, like the best words you've written are the ones that never hit the page, like don't do it.
That's a very good point.
That's so hard to teach yourself that though. That's something that luckily have always been on top of. Like, no page goes a certain amount of time, because I just knew it within finance that I would have to do that. Like, no page can go untouched for a certain amount of time, because I don't want the regulator sending me a fucking message like, hey, you're talking about 2021 tax rates here, man. Like, you can't do that. So yeah, it's a tough one. You're right. And I think that with AI, people got so excited about like, I can now put 1,000 blog posts live this month, but they're not interlinked and there's no strategy behind them. It's just about gaming the system. Yeah. We're in for a tough year, I think.
I always had this thing in my head where like creating a blog post would take about 8 hours. And this is like back. And so if you use AI, I think creating a blog post should take about 8 hours. But now with AI, you should be able to like make it so ridiculously good so you can cover more ground. People are using AI to do less work. And I think you have to do the same amount of work. You just make it better. AI makes it better.
Oh, nothing's changed for me in my content process. I use AI. I'll actively say I do. Like, it's not a problem for me. What I'm adding and the research that I can now do to go even deeper, but with a lot more context than I can get down on the page in the amount of time is where I'm going to win on that article. Like that's what I'm seeing it as. And you're totally right. Like, if it's taking over 90% of your processes, then you're in trouble. But if it's providing that extra value, there's that actually, if you look at that 100%, it's adding the 25% to make you 125%, then it's good. Like, but you cannot let it take over. Like, I suppose I'd love to know from something that you're seeing in the data side of stuff as well, when you're looking at all of these big sites, like what do the ballers do? Like what is something that is just you scan into this, you're seeing their data and you're like, oh, you guys are doing this, and the guys that are like mid-range or low tier just aren't doing?
they're just giving the answer, you know? They're giving the ingredients for the meatballs at the top, and they're not waxing poetic about their grandma. They are, in the first paragraph, giving you everything you need surface level so you could just leave and get on with your life. And then if you want more, you continue reading. When I was writing, it was almost like you bury the lead, right? Like you got to get them to go down. Maybe they can get their email address, but like maybe if you don't get their email address, you better served intent. Like no one wants to give you the email address, and you know, maybe sticking the email box in an article on how many eyes the horses have is as ridiculous as asking, as like writing the article. Like, what could you possibly offer for to get my email? It doesn't even make like what, you know? And so like just less. I think a friend of mine, Thomas Frank, he has like thomasjfrank.com as a site. And it's almost like a wiki of Notion. And he is just adding value, and he's not trying to scrape your everything on every page, because the sum of the pieces is far greater than, it's 1 + 1 = 3, right? And so you create the great resource, and you move away from this article has to have a specific ROI. Like this article may earn nothing, but it added more value to the whole, and I think that is really important.
I know we're coming to an end now, and thank you so much for your time and for coming on. You and I've seen how hard, and we've both worked hard over the last year to try and make sure that Lasso is the tool that everyone can use. I know you spent a long time before I was on board putting your heart and soul into that. For anyone listening who isn't sure whether it's for them, who do you think it best suits? How can it help them? And what would you like to tell people that might need to know more?
I would say if you're going if you're just starting out, it's your first year, maybe you shouldn't pay for Lasso. Maybe in the first 2 years you shouldn't. You probably have other problems to focus on. But as you grow, the maintenance becomes expensive for you. You don't remember the links that you put. Are they even monetized? And so it winds up making it easier to scale, and it removes the problems we solve you don't even know you have in the beginning. Like the interest rate stuff we were talking about, if links are broken out of stock, like GiftLab has 500 something posts. I think there's like 10,000 products. Like managing that's like insane. And so it has to be automated. But when we started, it didn't matter. And so I think it's that, understanding what's driving clicks, and the display boxes help. And then as you get bigger, like having a dashboard that tells you what is working and why. It's like you could look at it and you don't even necessarily know what you're looking for, but things will just jump out at you. You're like, like it's not dolphin lovers, but it's dolphin lovers, and dads who love golf, and you can see trends. And so I think it's you'll make more money, but like a lot of times, like making more money is actually what the search intent demands. And so you make your site better, and you become, you can rank because it's serving the need. And so you kind of like build, so you have good taste. And then when you get big enough, you need to have data also inform how you build. We help with the end to end of that. We have like so many automations. I could wax poetic about it. If you're unsure, book a demo with us. I would love to show you.
That's a good way to end it. I've spent the last year working with you on Lasso, and I personally enjoy so much when we've been able to get people on it and then just show them this is like, especially when people have plateaued before and they might be skeptical at first, and they see that they crack through that and start saving more time. And that's a wonderful thing to be able to be of service, as well as obviously we're in it for the cash as well. But to the service element and to help is a lovely thing. And so I think that you described it well there. Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate your time and spending your time giving us the key information. Where can people find you that we can add to the podcast description where you can keep in touch with Andrew?
Guys, thank you for having me on. I love this stuff, and it was a super fun chat. You can find me getlasso.co. That's like my heart and soul right now. If you want to see my musings, my complaints, you can find me on Twitter. at Andy Fieb, ANDYFIEB, or email me. Email the team. Go on our website, click the little chat bubble, and be like, Andrew, I heard your podcast and it stinks and I don't like it. And then I'll reply.
There we go. All right. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. Until next time. Thank you, Andrew. Cheers, Sammy. And yeah, we'll call it there. Thank you so much.
Ever felt like your blog could do with a bit of an SEO boost? Well, I found your answer. Link Whisper.
Imagine effortlessly adding internal links to your posts, boosting your SEO without breaking a sweat. That's the Link Whisper speciality.
Absolutely. With Link Whisper right under your article, you get tailor-made suggestions for your internal links, and the cherry on top, connect it with Google Search Console and you're off to the races.
Yep, it uses those keywords directly from Google Search Console for that perfect anchor text.
And if you're posting something new, Link Whisper is like your SEO sidekick. It scans your site, finds relevant content, and suggests where and how to link back to your latest post.
So for your orphan posts, Link Whisper's pretty handy.
Yeah, gone are the days of crawling through your site with complex tools and spreadsheets. Link Whisper finds these orphan pages and allows you to add links from your WordPress dashboard.
And let's not forget the related post widget. So this can be displayed as a bulleted list or within a blog post thumbnail. You get a specific set of articles to be related, or you can have them auto-select them for you.
And for those orphan posts we mentioned, they're getting prioritized, ensuring every post gets the love it deserves.
So to all you bloggers looking to step up your game,
use the code ClickWars, all one word, for $20 off. And now back to the podcast.